Good evening, and welcome to Global Crossroads, the forum where we engage with the most critical questions shaping our collective future. Tonight we delve into a proposition of profound consequence, a concept that oscillates between a utopian ideal and a dystopian threat. We are here to debate the motion: should all countries adopt a single global currency? Is this the next logical step in the inexorable march of globalization, one that promises unprecedented economic stability and seamless commerce? Or is it a perilous leap towards a centralized, technocratic control that erodes the very foundations of national sovereignty? To argue in favor of this transformative idea, we're honored to have Dr. Kenji Tanaka, a distinguished global economist and a senior fellow at the Institute for Global Economic Progress. Arguing against, we welcome Dr. Isabella Rossi, a formidable voice in international finance and the former governor of her nation's central bank. Our objective tonight is not merely to declare a winner, but to meticulously dissect the intricate economic, political, and social ramifications of such a monumental shift. Let us begin with opening statements. Dr. Tanaka, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Thorne. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to envision a world unburdened by the frictions that currently plague our global economic system. Every day, trillions of dollars are spent, not on creating value, not on innovation or development, but simply on the act of converting one currency to another. This represents a colossal deadweight loss to the global economy. Furthermore, businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, are perpetually exposed to the unpredictable whims of exchange rate volatility. This currency risk acts as a significant deterrent to international trade and long-term investment, stifling growth and opportunity. The status quo is, by its very nature, inefficient and inherently unstable. Now, consider the alternative: a single global currency, managed by a politically independent, globally representative central bank. Such a system would immediately eradicate currency wars, where nations competitively devalue their money to gain a transient trade advantage at the expense of others. It would eliminate the speculative attacks that can cripple emerging economies overnight. This new currency would serve as a stable store of value and a universal unit of account, providing a bulwark against the kind of hyperinflationary spirals that have devastated so many nations. The greatest beneficiaries would be the developing nations, currently at the mercy of the hegemonic power of dominant currencies like the US dollar. Their economic destinies are held hostage by monetary policies enacted thousands of miles away for domestic, not global reasons. Just as the adoption of national currencies unified disparate and often warring regions in centuries past, a global currency is the logical corollary to our deeply interconnected 21st century world. It would foster a genuine sense of shared economic destiny, vastly simplify global accounting, and create a truly level playing field for international commerce, where competition is based on merit, not monetary manipulation. I anticipate my esteemed colleague will raise the specter of lost sovereignty. But I urge you to consider this. In an age where capital flows across borders at the speed of light, and multinational corporations wield budgets larger than many countries, is the notion of true monetary autonomy not already an illusion for the vast majority of nations? A shared global currency does not diminish sovereignty. It redefines it. It offers every nation, large and small, a meaningful seat at the table in a democratized, transparent, and collaborative global monetary system. It is a step towards a more rational and prosperous future for all.
Thank you, Dr. Tanaka. Dr. Rossi, your opening statement.
Thank you, Dr. Thorne. Dr. Tanaka paints a seductive picture of a streamlined, efficient world. However, this vision of frictionless uniformity comes at a cost so profound, it threatens the very fabric of democratic self-governance. Let us be unequivocally clear. Monetary policy is not some arcane, technical lever. It's a cornerstone of a nation's economic self-determination. The ability to set interest rates, to manage the money supply, to devalue or revalue a currency. This is the primary toolkit a government possesses to combat domestic crises like high unemployment or runaway inflation. Ceding this authority to a supranational body is not a minor compromise. It's a fundamental abdication of a government's sovereign responsibility to its own citizens. My colleagues suggest this is a path to stability. I contend it's a blueprint for paralysis, a problem I call the one-size-fits-none dilemma. We need look no further than the Eurozone crisis for a sobering real-world experiment in this very idea. She speaks of asymmetric shocks, an academic term for a simple reality. What if one country is experiencing a deep recession while another is in the midst of an inflationary boom? A single, monolithic interest rate is calamitously wrong for both. For the country in recession, it's too high, choking off recovery. For the booming country, it's too low, fueling a dangerous bubble. A global currency would amplify this catastrophic problem on a planetary scale, locking diverse economies into a policy straitjacket that serves none of them well. Furthermore, the proposal creates an unprecedented single point of failure. In our current system, a financial crisis in one country can be severe, but capital can flee to safe haven currencies. There are economic firebreaks. In a world with a single currency, a major banking crisis or a bout of uncontrollable inflation would not be contained. It would become an instantaneous, inescapable global contagion. There would be no safe havens, no external anchors, only a worldwide spiral into chaos. Finally, and perhaps most critically, who governs this global central bank? Who appoints its board? To whom are these technocrats, wielding immense power over the economic fate of every person on Earth, truly accountable? The proposal risks creating an unelected, unaccountable financial aristocracy, far removed from the democratic will of the people whose lives they control. This is not progress. It's a profound democratic deficit that should alarm every one of us. The beauty of our world lies in its diversity of cultures, peoples, and, yes, of economies. To sacrifice that adaptability for a brittle and dangerous illusion of efficiency would be an act of historic folly.
Thank you both for those powerful opening statements. The fault lines of this debate are now clearly drawn. I'd like to press you both on your core arguments, beginning with you, Dr. Tanaka. Dr. Tanaka, Dr. Rossi raises the potent and painful example of the Eurozone. We all witnessed how nations like Greece and Spain, caught in a severe downturn, were unable to use the traditional tool of currency devaluation to regain competitiveness and export their way back to health. They were locked into a strong currency, leading to years of brutal austerity and social upheaval. How does your model for a global currency avoid this very real one-size-fits-none trap that can inflict such prolonged economic agony on individual nations?
That is a crucial question, Dr. Thorne, and I thank you for it. It's intellectually dishonest to discuss a single currency without confronting the lessons of the Eurozone. However, I believe my colleague's diagnosis of the problem is incomplete. The fundamental flaw of the Euro project was not the single currency itself, but the fact that it was a monetary union without a corresponding fiscal union. They created a shared central bank, but failed to create a shared treasury. It was a half-built house, and when the storm came, its architectural weaknesses were exposed. A properly architected global currency system, learning from this very mistake, must be designed with robust, automatic mechanisms for fiscal transfers. This means that during an asymmetric shock, surplus regions would systematically and automatically provide support to deficit regions, cushioning the blow and stimulating demand where it is most needed. Think of it like a national economy. When one state or province suffers a downturn, the national tax and benefit system automatically transfers resources to support it. A global system must replicate this principle on a global scale, alongside strong, unified macroprudential regulation to prevent the buildup of systemic risk in the first place. Moreover, let us not romanticize the tool of currency devaluation. It's often a desperate, short-term fix, a race to the bottom that impoverishes a nation's citizens by making imports more expensive, thereby importing inflation, while failing to address the underlying structural issues of low productivity or lack of competitiveness. A global currency removes this tempting, but ultimately self-defeating option. It forces nations to undertake the genuine, necessary reforms to compete on what truly matters: the quality of their education, the strength of their infrastructure, and the dynamism of their innovation.
Thank you, Dr. Tanaka. A compelling counter. Dr. Rossi, I now turn to you. You champion the sanctity of sovereign monetary policy as a vital tool for national self-determination. However, as Dr. Tanaka alluded to, we live in a world dominated by the US dollar. When the US Federal Reserve adjusts its interest rates, the shockwaves are felt instantly from Sao Paulo to Jakarta. Capital floods in or out of countries, currencies fluctuate wildly, and national central banks are often forced to react, regardless of their domestic economic conditions. To what extent is this cherished notion of true monetary independence already a fiction for the majority of the world's nations, who are, in effect, tethered to a policy they have no say in making?
Another vital point, Dr. Thorne. There's no denying the outsized and often problematic influence of the U.S. Federal Reserve. The dollar hegemony is a structural reality of our current system that creates significant challenges, particularly for emerging markets. But to suggest that the solution to this problem is to formalize it and surrender all policy levers is, with respect, a deeply flawed conclusion. It's akin to arguing that because a powerful bully dominates the playground, the only solution is to hand him a contract that gives him permanent, official control over everyone. The more logical response is to find ways to mitigate the bully's power and preserve one's own autonomy. Having some policy levers, even if their effectiveness is constrained by external forces, is infinitely better than having no levers at all. A central bank can still use its tools, interest rates, reserve requirements, forward guidance, to lean against the wind, to manage capital flows, and to signal its intentions to its domestic economy. It allows for a degree of national agency that is crucial. This brings me back to the core fallacy of the efficiency argument. Dr. Tanaka's proposed system of fiscal transfers sounds elegant in theory, but politically, it's a fantasy. Can we truly imagine the citizens of a booming nation willingly accepting higher taxes to subsidize what they perceive as a profligate or uncompetitive nation on the other side of the world? The political backlash would be immense and would likely shatter the entire system. Economies are not uniform machines. They are complex, adaptive, living systems, deeply embedded in unique cultures, demographics, legal systems, and industrial bases. The so-called inefficiency of different currencies is, in fact, the flexibility required to manage this incredible diversity. Allow me an analogy. To argue for a single currency because we're all affected by global economic trends is like arguing that because all drivers on the road are affected by the price of oil, we should all have our individual cars confiscated and be forced to ride a single, centrally controlled train. It completely ignores our different needs, our different destinations, and the unique terrain we must each navigate. The ability to chart one's own economic course, however difficult, is invaluable and must not be surrendered.
We are approaching the end of our time. I will now ask you both for a brief closing statement. Dr. Tanaka, please summarize your position.
I ask the audience to look beyond the fears of today and embrace the vision of a more rational tomorrow. My case rests on a simple premise: a world free from the immense waste of currency conversion, the chaos of speculation, and the instability of exchange rate volatility is a better world. The choice before us is between clinging to an outdated, fragmented system that breeds conflict and inefficiency, or embracing a more integrated, cooperative, and prosperous global future. History has shown that unifying our economic tools has consistently led to greater peace and prosperity. A single global currency is the next necessary chapter in that story.
Thank you, Dr. Tanaka. And Dr. Rossi, your final words.
The proposal for a single global currency is presented as progress, but it's a reckless, irreversible gamble with our collective future. It asks us to surrender the fundamental right of economic self-determination, to accept the certainty of the one-size-fits-none dilemma, which guarantees hardship for many, and to create a monolithic, unaccountable power structure beyond democratic control. We're being asked to place all our diverse and vibrant national economies into a single fragile basket. Before we take this irreversible step, we must ask ourselves with the utmost seriousness, who exactly will be holding it? And what happens to us all when they inevitably drop it?
Thank you, Dr. Tanaka and Dr. Rossi, for your incisive analysis and truly compelling arguments. You have illuminated the profound complexities of this issue with remarkable clarity. Tonight's debate has revealed that this is not merely a question of currency, but a clash between two powerful and competing visions for our global future, one of radical economic integration and the other of sovereign national resilience. The ultimate question of which path to choose is one we now leave for you, our audience, to ponder. Good evening.